All right, guys, today I'm going to talk about these Case buffalo horn knives. Um, Everybody loves Stag. Stag is beautiful. Stag is the most unique handle that you'll get on a knife because no two pieces are going to be the same. As a matter of fact, a lot of times a Stag knife is totally different from one side to the other. But Case can't get Stag like that anymore, and the pieces they still have in inventory are small. So if you get a new Stag knife, it's going to be like a peanut or a tiny trapper, tiny stockman, something like that. Um, so in my opinion, the next best thing is this buffalo horn. And Case jigs their buffalo horn, which I'm kind of on the fence about. I like the texture, but at the same time, um, I don't know. It just maybe sometimes I think it might look good if it was slick. But yeah, and the cool thing about these buffalo horn knives for me is both times I bought one of these, I feel like the seller thought they were just black plastic handles. And this Whittler right here actually came with the box that says, BH for buffalo horn. So that whoever had this knife clearly just didn't know much about case knives, but I picked this Whittler up for $40, and I think I got the Trapper for $40 also, but two different places. The Seahorse Whittler here was an eBay find, and I was on eBay looking, and a lot of times what I do, and I want to make a video one day, kind of giving some tips on buying knives on eBay. But what I do a lot of times is I'll just go on eBay and I'll put a super broad search in there, and it might just be case knives. And then I like to put a price limit of like 40 or $50, whatever I want to spend, or if I've got a little extra money. And you'll get a lot of stupid stuff. There'll be a lot of just people trying to sell empty boxes and stuff like that when you get the price down low. But every once in a while, you just run across a unicorn, and that's what happened with this knife. I was scrolling down through there. I saw this, and I had been familiar enough with the buffalo horn. I recognized this jigging pattern. They always do like a deep groove, and then a series of small little grooves here, and I just recognized it, and it didn't say anything about being buffalo horn in the description, but I just knew it was. And so for $40, I grabbed this knife, which is probably about $130 knife anywhere else you'd find it. And it arrived, and like I said, it even came in the original box. It says buffalo horn right on the box. And this was my first Seahorse Whittler, so it really checked off two boxes for me. But yeah, this buffalo horn, it's not just black. You can kind of tell if the camera will pick it up. There's some gray going on in here, almost some brown. And when I show you the Trapper, it's got even more character to it as far as colors and stuff. But yeah, these they leave these handles a little thicker, kind of like they do a lot of the Stag knives. So these knives feel really good when you're holding them in your hand. They just got that thickness to them. If y'all aren't familiar with a Seahorse Whittler, you get a gigantic, thick Wharncliffe main blade that you would get in there and dig and do all your big cutting with if you were whittling wood. And then you've got your pretty standard pin blade, and then you've got the other standard coping blade. Now some whittlers are a little different, but this is pretty standard. And the coping blade and the pin blade, they're pretty small. So you'd really only be using those for your finish work on whatever little piece you were whittling. But that's okay because you got this huge, thick Wharncliffe blade. I mean, you can really bear down with this one. Um, and it's not what you'd call a split back, like some whittlers are. This one basically just has two back springs. The coping blade rides on one spring, the pin blade rides on the other spring, and then when you get to this end, that thick Wharncliffe blade actually crosses both springs. So as you open and close this knife, you're actually working both springs, so you've got a pretty good back spring on that. No half stops on this knife, but it's got a ridiculous strong action on it. Blades are centered up pretty good. The You're going to get some blade rub with a whittler, a Seahorse whittler like this, because these two secondary blades, they're pretty thin, and there's really just no way to open either one of these without pushing it against the Wharncliffe blade. So you can see that I've got a little bit of blade rub, but that doesn't bother me. I just understand how they're made, and that's just going to be the case. But if you were super particular about that, you just always want to open this blade first, because they don't touch. They're put in there very well, but when you go to put your fingernail in that nail nick to open that blade, there's no way you can keep from rubbing it against that other one. So there's my Seahorse whittler and buffalo horn. I have looked at a lot of case knives on eBay. I mean, once a day I get on there and just check out and see what's going on, looking for deals like this. But I have maybe only seen one other Seahorse whittler like this with the buffalo horn, I mean. So I don't know how many of these they made, but I see a lot of trappers and a lot of stockmans and a lot of sod busters. I very, very rarely see a buffalo horn Seahorse whittler, so I'm pretty happy to have this one. This one here was a flea market. Yeah, I guess you call it a flea market. This was a flea market find. There's a guy at a local outdoor flea market. Yeah, it's an outdoor flea market, so it's pretty kind of a backcountry thing, but they're neat to go to. The guy that I bought this from has a pretty good selection of knives. Matter of fact, my big blue case saddle horn came from that guy, and I've bought a green. I bought a hunter green copper lock from him too, and he's not giving his knives away. He pretty much knows what they're worth, for a used knife. And so most of his prices are about what you'd pay on eBay. So you can't go down there expecting to just get a screaming deal. Now, he had that saddle horn price pretty good, but most of his knives he's pretty well on the market with. So I had looked at all of his knives in his little clear top cases that he had laid out on his table, and he just didn't have anything there that I felt like was a good enough deal. So just as I was about to walk off, I noticed a cardboard box that had some, like you'd have your cheaper knives thrown in this box, and your other stuff would be under the case. So I gave it a quick glance, and I see this guy sitting in the bottom of that box. Once again, I could tell right off the bat, I knew this jigging was buffalo horn. And I picked it up and opened the blade, and sure enough, there's the BH for buffalo horn, and then the 254 will be the two blades, and the 54 is the large trapper pattern. So I picked this knife up out of this cardboard box, and I opened the blade, saw that it had the BH, and I showed it to him, and I said, "Hey buddy," I said, "how much you take for this one?" Well, he got it from me. He whooped that blade open just like I did, and I thought, okay, he knows what he's got. And I thought he was fixing to tell me he wanted $100 for it because it's buffalo horn, And he handed it back to me, and he said, "Oh, I'll do 40 on that one." And I said, "Okay, I think I'll take that." And I jerked out the money, gave it to him, and took off with this beautiful knife, and was tickled to death with it. I mean, you look at these on eBay, and you search buffalo horn trapper, and this is a $100 knife, $110. I've seen them as high as $125. So I don't know if he didn't realize what he had. Obviously he didn't, because he could have got a lot more money for it. But I bought this knife from him for $40 too. Like, he didn't even he didn't even know. So I haven't talked about the build quality of these knives, but they're both pretty good. This one here is built real well. Now, these knives have stainless blades, and that's okay. I like a chrome vanadium blade, but these stainless blades will get the job done all the same. This knife has a pretty good action. Pretty typical for a trapper. Once again, if you're ever out looking and you're curious, the buffalo horn will have a BH instead of a 6 or a 3 or the other typical numbers that indicate the handle material. And yeah, these are really cool. Now I will carry these. These aren't just ones that I keep sitting on the desk because I think that over time these handles will kind of wear down and they'll probably even be even prettier than they are now. And so sometimes if we're going to church or we're just going to go out to eat, something like that, I'll put a knife like this in my pocket. Um, but as I was saying earlier with how these knives have a little bit of character, if you'll see right here, there's some brown streaks going on, just like you might find in a buffalo horn or even a cow's horn. They have the little bit different colors to them. So that makes it unique, kind of like how stag is. But yeah, they've just got a real good polish. They've got nice smooth corners. The case just does a really good job with these. And if we're not going to be able to get stag knives in the future or even now, these buffalo horn would be my pick. They're normally not cheap, but if you keep your eye out, you can probably find some deals like I did where somebody just didn't understand exactly what they had here, and they probably, Case sells that rough black synthetic, they call it. It's very similar to this. You might, if you didn't know what you were looking for and you were just pricing this knife and you ran across one of those rough black synthetics that they normally sell for pretty cheap, like an everyday working knife, and you'd say, oh, okay, well, that's what I've got, and you price it low. But yeah, if you know what you're looking for and you educate yourself, you can find some deals like this sometimes. So that's my two buffalo horn knives. I'd love to have a Sodbuster Junior in buffalo horn, but I haven't found a good deal on one of those yet. But I think the Sodbuster Junior is a very handsome knife with the buffalo horn covers. So that's probably the next one I look for as far as the buffalo horn goes. But thanks for checking them out. I appreciate y'all watching. Give me a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe. See you.